Guys, I've got the pleasure of having Rhys Uhlich on my on the bullshit machine. Rhys, welcome, mate.
Mate, it's the pleasure is mutual. Trust me.
Yeah, I love it. And man, do you know what? To be honest, one of the reasons I really wanted to get you on is uh, we've known each other on and off for the last 5 or 6 years or whatever. Actually, probably more. And
Yeah,
and we've sort of followed our journey, both of us, and it's like one of the things that I really love about your journey is that well, I guess from an outsider looking in is you're this kind of dude where like from the outside you would see Reese and you just see this beautiful specimen of a human being. Like you've been blessed with like such good looks and it's so annoying, but at the same point when you really get to know Reese, he's such an incredible, like, internally and externally, and you just really wear your heart on your sleeve, and I love that you've always shared, your struggles, and it's like it's almost like you share your struggles more, and there's something in you that just really speaks for the entire human and mankind, because obviously I've been working on the dudes thing for a while, but I've just loved watching your journey, and that's why I want to get you on, just to have a chat to you and just see what really happens within the man Reese.
mate. There's a lot going on there. And hearing you say, and really thank you so much. I think I felt like a baby giraffe recently. Trying to access a part of me that I've always wanted to access. And sometimes when we're learning to express ourselves from a truthful place, it can be really fumbly and messy. And I feel like the last couple of years or whatever, I've tried to do that, and it has been a mess. And I said to you just before we started this that I'll share a part of me that I maybe haven't before, then I'll be in the fetal position in shame for a couple of days. But it's really nice to hear your reflection. Um, yeah, it's been it's yeah. I look, I think I'm someone that probably leads with my heart a bit too much
Mm.
sometimes, and I think leading with your heart, you get it all cut and bruised, and you can kind of get scarred along the way. But I don't really know how else to live, and I'm starting to finally accept that part of me which I've always felt really ashamed of, and as a weakness, is potentially a strength, and especially with the way I feel the world shifting at the moment. I'm like, oh, maybe this is the time we're leading this way is okay.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but it's felt fumbly, that's for sure.
yeah, absolutely. And so, Reese, on your journey, and you've probably had
Mm.
a very different journey than most in terms of, you've what was that? What was the show, the modeling show that you were on, that where it all sort of,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it was called Make Me a Supermodel, and I think it was on Channel 7, and it was 2008, so it's what 12 years ago now. And it was the only one they ever did with boys and girls,
yeah,
so obviously I got a run.
yeah,
Changed a few things for sure. It's not something I ever talk about. I've never really relived it. I had a bit of, again, I use the word shame. Probably going to be a bit of a theme here, but I had a
why?
lot of shame around it. I think I didn't want to be defined. It's funny. I think without knowing it, I had that part of me that really wanted to speak some truth, and I felt like that was a bit of a roadblock in that, and
Mm,
that kind of more made it all about aesthetics. But then, of course, I have an ego, and I enjoyed the aesthetic part of it, and I enjoyed hiding behind that part of me. But there was an element of me that's like, oh fuck, this is actually going to make my journey harder because I'm going to be stuck behind this model tag. So I never really embraced it. I always resented it, but it was
mm,
probably resenting. It was silly in hindsight to resent it, but I did, and I never enjoyed that caper probably until now.
mm.
I'm getting work again as a 36-year-old, which is times must be tough in the industry. I could say, but I'm enjoying it because I'm focusing on the relationships that I'm meeting people, and also my girls, and often my wife are shooting with me, and it's such a pleasure to
Mm.
like. Oh, I'm finding myself proud of myself for the first time ever. I'm like,
Yeah,
this is okay.
yeah, because
Yeah,
you're doing a lot of work for Maya and stuff like that, but you're doing it as a whole
yeah,
family, which is so cool.
yeah. We are, and it's funny. They were the first big company to come to me when I first started modeling, and I never kicked on with them. I think my own shame held me back, and then now it's like come full circle. And the funny thing about Maya is they're coming to me and they're wanting me to be me. They're like, Reese, our whole campaign is just about you and your vulnerabilities and your family. I'm like, wow, an amazing turnaround. The fashion industry is now coming to me, and I'm enough, So it is quite cathartic, I think,
Yeah,
in a lot
yeah.
of ways. Yeah.
And so for someone like you, you're a very earthy guy. Like you surf and you've always sort of lived by the ocean and but on the other side of the fence, you've also followed this dream and you went to Hollywood for a couple of years and gave that a go. But it'd be so interesting to hear from you in terms of you've always had this blessed looks. Like you're a fucking good looking dude, like, and it is, it's like, you got to own it and you just, but what I'd love to know is that having that, the way that you've gone through life where obviously looks has been a curse and a blessing at the same time. What has sort of happened? How have you been able to find that inner earthing when a lot of the stuff that I reckon you would have gone through has been from an external or aesthetic point?
Yeah, well, first of all, if only every casting director and modeling agent looked at me the way you do, I'd be killing it. I'd be setting the world alight. But they didn't all share that view. Um, how did I? I think I did it by going down every wrong path and pursuing the ego dream as much as I could until it put me on my knees.
Yeah,
And I think of that time. We went to LA a year ago. We spent 2 years over there chasing a half ego dream, a half soul dream. I think your soul will lead you there anyway. And um, I went over there to pursue acting because I'd always really wanted to do it. But the one thing the casting directors kept saying to me is, you're just not open enough. You're just not, you're getting to a point and then you're bracing. So in a way, it led me to thinking, well, to get a job, I've actually got to find what that block is and look within. So in a weird way, the ego chase took me to the right place.
yeah,
That rhymes.
yeah,
So yeah, I don't know. I think in LA, I probably found myself more than ever, and I have a story that the family went back home. We ran out of money. I sold everything to pursue this selfish dream.
fuck, know
I
that feeling.
yeah, but tried on it with two kids. But I like to think I did it to show them that as a father, as a parent, you can't give up on your own dreams for your kids. You've actually got to lead the way. I didn't want to end up being one of those dads that resents them for what I didn't do.
Mm.
So hopefully, in a way, I taught them a few things. But yeah. Anyway, long story short, family went back home. We ran out of money. I was forced to live in the car, which is like the LA story. But part of me loved it.
Yeah,
Like I wanted to, I wanted to experience that. But I went out to Joshua Tree and thought I'll park there instead of parking down in the streets of West Hollywood. And I just spent, probably 2-3 weeks there on my own. And that's probably I was through being forced to. It was the first time I'd actually been on my own without phones, without anything. And that's probably where I thought, well, you know what? I might as well start unapologetically just being me, even if it's a sensitive, potentially sissy, potentially erratic, yeah, guy. But I think then it's probably led me to think to start that path.
yeah, and
Unapologetically.
and for those watching or listening or whatever that don't know Joshua Tree is like a really barren, like
Yeah,
pretty
I feel like
much.
I'm just pulling out all the cliches.
No, no, no. Well,
Hollywood in the
dude,
car, Joshua Tree, find yourself. But
yeah,
anyway,
but it is. It's like Joshua Tree is just like, it's pretty much death, isn't it? Like when you're
yeah,
there.
there's something so magical about it. I think that it is death is so right. There's no noise.
Mm,
There's no noise. The only thing you can hear is your heart and your own voice. That's it. And sometimes that's scary. And I remember just standing out there and just crying, and I didn't even know what I was crying about, but it was just all coming to me. And I think for the first time, my heart connected to my creative core, and there'd always been shame around my creative core because I'd used it for sex and I'd used it for things that held shame. And for the first time at Jade Tree, I remember that I connected my heart and my core or my
mm.
root chakra or whatever it may be, and it was just a beautiful moment.
Yeah, yeah,
By no means was it an awakening because I've gone up and down since, and I'm still doing it. And tomorrow I'll be fetal again, but
yeah.
you know, I get up a bit longer each time.
And what about with the shame stuff? Because I reckon a lot of dudes, well, including myself, really feel shame around just wanting to express who we are, you know. And when you're saying before that you were expressing that shame through sex and stuff like that, like, I mean, would you mind going a bit deeper into that, into what that
No.
sort of?
Um, so for me, I think that I was. I can look back now and see what it was I was trying to attain, and that was just uh, it, it was connection, and it was a way to accept that part of me. It was a real it's a real hard one because it's multi-layered. I think
Yeah.
it's a mix of what we're taught. It's a mix of wanting to connect to the female when potentially as a kid I didn't have that connection. It's wanting to be seen and loved unconditionally. Um, and it's wanting to chase that ultimate higher power feeling, but maybe going down the darkness path more so than the light because it feels so similar. You
Mm.
know, I used this analogy the other day. It's like for me, it felt like that feeling I was chasing. I feel like the dark just before the light, and they both feel identical. You know, but there's something just that's not quite right about that darkness. But at the same time, it's very easy to sit in it, and just because the perpetuating cycle is so addictive of chasing that rush, and that's what I got stuck in. I chased that rush over and over again. But when you're chasing the rush and maybe in a dysfunctional way, you
Mm.
end up with shame,
Yeah.
and then you're back in a cycle. So for me, that's what it was like. And the funny thing is, I'll always have an instinct to connect to the feminine and to connect to all feminine in the world, you know, and masculine. But for me, you know, there's a real desire there, and it's probably a healing thing. But to remove the shame from the cycle and then realize that there was something in it that I was chasing all along that was pure, has been really healing. And I'm
Yeah.
still, again, baby giraffing it, still like taking little steps, but yeah, that's all I've come to terms with at the moment. It's still an ongoing puzzle.
Yeah, I think it is for everyone, absolutely. And you know what? It's so interesting, man, because just from what you're saying, it's one of those things when you're in a situation, and or whether it's a relationship or an experience or whatever, and then yeah, there's this always this fucking voice in the back of your head going, do you know what? I'm not getting the connection that I need here. So
Yeah,
I know that if I go out somewhere else, it's gonna it'll give me that connection that I need to the feminine or whatever you want to call it. And then but then if you go and do it, you just feel yourself as empty as what you did beforehand. You know, so I think what
yeah,
you're saying there is that if you can find this way to sit in that tension of needing connection,
yeah,
and then somehow being able to sit in your power, but then create that connection in that yucky, grimy, muddy place that you're in, that's
yeah.
probably the real challenge, isn't it?
It is, and even hearing you say that, I was like, God, there was always a part of me that's like, can't I just fucking go out and get a quick route and not have that shame?
I
And like,
guarantee,
there was,
man. Every other
God, I
dude in
just
the world
tried,
would. Yeah.
yeah, I tried so hard, and I was like, can I just like find a way to shut that bit out of my mind and then just get this one done, and then I promise next time
Yeah.
I'll work on my shame. You know, so yeah, it took me back hearing you say that, and you're right. Easier said than done, though, isn't
It
it?
is,
Like for me, it has
absolutely.
been anyway.
Yeah, no, it
Yeah,
is. Absolutely. I totally agree.
mm,
Totally agree. So
yeah. I,
on that, yeah, go.
no, I was just thinking. For me, the sure sign that maybe you're stuck in addiction or an addictive pattern is the way that nothing else matters in that moment other than getting that. So I just remember back when I was probably really caught up in that shame cycle. I just everything else in my life would just be like that didn't matter in that moment. And I always remember thinking, if only I chased success more as much as I chased sex, I'd fucking have everything, you know. But you become so single-minded.
Yeah.
That's all you're worried about, and fulfilling that need or that desire, that connection that really I was after. But that, you know, I can say that that doesn't use the word forgive, but that doesn't forgive what I did. But it allows me to forgive myself, and that's where you can remove the shame.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And so in terms of in terms of your journey, you know, intuitively, what what do you reckon, like what's well, not even the biggest lesson, but it'd be good to hear when you said you were down on your knees and you were in that spot where it was like, fuck, man, I'm done, like this is, you know, first off, what was that spot where you were down on your knees and you're fucked up and you're like, I don't know if there's a way out? Or no, actually, you know what, I'll reframe that. when is the point when you felt the most alone?
When when I was in LA, so when I was on my own, I had no one. I had no one left. My wife had left. The kids were at home, and I found myself still in that cycle, playing it out. But my soul had left, but my body was still doing it. Like in terms of going through the motions, I wasn't out there seeking sex, but I was still going through the motions of using some quick validation. And I think when that game was laid out really clearly to my wife and to me, there was no rush left. It was just this dark feeling that I was like, holy fuck, how is that a depth that dark in me? Like, am I the devil? Like, am I the darkest, worst human that ever lived? Am I a serial killer? Am I a rapist? I literally felt all that, and I didn't want to be here. I remember calling Claire, and it's like, I don't want to be here. Like, and I had two kids and all of that, and it's the first time I've ever spoken about that, but I remember where I was. I remember all of that, and I had to connect to that level of darkness that exists in the world and is being very prevalent in the world right now.
Mm.
Had to connect to that to move through it, and I just avoided that for so long.
Yeah.
But I will never forget how fucking scary that felt. I'll never forget it because it's just a universal darkness that I think, I don't know if we all need to see it, but I needed to see it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes
I
that's
can. Sorry, just
yeah.
sorry. I connected to it years before, 2 years before, when I did a ayahuasca retreat in Arizona in the desert. I connected to it then, but I was like, what the fuck was that? That wasn't mine. That was weird. And then I came out and had an incredible euphoric moment. So I did see it before, but it wasn't until that moment I was like, oh, that's mine. That's in me.
Yeah.
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 Anyway.
No, I get it absolutely, and so that darkness, it's almost like when you get to that point of darkness, and you do question, you're like, fuck, am I really this dark? Like, those questions that, am I able to fucking kill people? Am I able to kill myself? And it's that, like, that fear of going, fuck, man, like, if I'm in this dark place, I can actually make a choice that's going to be really destructive to me and to the world, and
Yeah.
it's a scary feeling, man, isn't it?
It is, and I think even hearing you say that, like, it's in those moments that you can have empathy for the people that do pretty horrific things in this world. Because if I had sat in that darkness much longer, who knows what you're capable of? I'm not forgiving atrocious acts in the world, but I can understand what place they come from.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it is really sobering. It's very scary.
Yeah, and then so in that moment, it'd be cool to hear. So in that moment of darkness, when you got that fear of, like, holy shit, like, this is not just in the world, it's within me. Was there then a point that you decided something and moved out of that, or was it just you owned it and you acknowledged it and went, you know what, I'm this, but I'm just going to keep living, or what happened?
Yeah, mate. Looking back, I don't think it was a conscious decision or a moment. I think I sat in it, and then I maybe just took some baby steps to change that behavior, and then it's been like going to the gym ever since. Like, really has, and taking one little layer away after the other. But the whole way through, and this is probably 2 years ago now, when I had that moment, that really watershed moment. I've gone in and out of changing from one addiction to the other. My current one is social media, phone. So, but I'm more mindful of it, and I just think awareness is everything. Awareness and non-judgment.
Yeah, yeah. And then, so in terms of creation, because you have, because I reckon, like, just as an outsider looking in, right? I reckon it doesn't matter whether it's now or 10 years ago, when someone from the outside looks into your life, you would have been a person that seems like a really great creator, right? Like, you've always created these cool things in your life, and that seem fun or adventurous or whatever. But I reckon from I guess my angle, looking at where you're at now, it's like the things that you're creating, you can actually see that they're part of who you are, and it's like more of a soul creation than a look at me creation, but you're still sharing all this cool shit like that. that shed behind, or not the shed, the house behind you. That's just
Shouse,
like
shouse,
house,
yeah.
shed house. Is that what they're called? Shouses.
Well, I've named them. Yeah,
Oh, I love
yeah.
it. So even that, man, like that is like you can tell you've just basically gone. I'm doing it, and look at what you're creating. Unbelievable.
Yeah, this. Thank you for saying that. And I think, yeah, you're right. Like I'm finally starting to accept the parts of me that I thought were embarrassing. So the way I've built this shed home has been through. It's like a almost like a Balinese guy. Like I've just walked around like barefoot, like gathering things that I had around me, and like every window here is recycled, and I've found it in random places. So I designed the whole house based on what I found, and I've always wanted to do that. I've done that with like chicken coops and like garden sheds. And then I think at the start of this year, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna build a house. I have no trading knowledge. I've never been taught to use a drill or a hammer. I haven't built it with my own. I've built it with buddies, but it's all from my mind. Um, so there's been something really beautiful about seeing a physical manifestation of my own acceptance.
Yeah. And where is it?
And
Where
then
are you?
yeah, it's on Phillip Island in a treed little suburb on Phillip Island.
So cool.
Yeah.
And were you
So
close to the beach?
yeah, we're a few hundred meters from the beach, and so the
Great.
whole idea with this is I had $100,000 price limit. So again, that's a part of me that I've been shamed of. I'm like, am I a hard ass, or do I just believe that we don't need as much as we think we do? So probably somewhere in the middle. I don't
Mm.
know. I'm probably somewhere in the middle. I think I'm generous, but sometimes I like to just be frugal and show that it can be done. So for me, yeah, 100 grand. We've built what I think is a pretty cool looking house, and it's eco-friendly. We're using all recycled materials. The steel's all eco because you can melt down what you don't use and reform it for the next job. Um, yeah, and I've just built it based on what was around me.
That's
Yes,
incredible.
so it's all right. I think it's just made me for the first time. I don't know. I've always had, and you might relate to this. I've always had this core belief that everything's going to fuck up.
Mm.
Everything I do, it'll fuck up eventually. So I'll only half do it, because I'm waiting for the moment that the rug gets pulled. This thing is the only thing that like just defies that. It keeps defying it. Like every time I think, oh no, actually, because I do have this little voice like, you're a hoax, mate. You're a fucking hoax. You make everything look good, but really, it's a hoax.
Mm.
And that's my voice.
Yeah.
So I keep waiting for that to happen with this, and every time it looks like it's gonna, it just rises again, and it even looks better than it did, or it feels better. So it's this thing has taught me so much about who I am, So I encourage every man to build their own home at some stage, and just do it with faith and do it with intention.
Yeah. And with that, I'd be interested to hear a little bit more about that voice within Rhys, which is like, because it sounds to me like your your actual fear, which I think we all have. I definitely have that fear, is not fear, but that core assumption is what you said, or that core inner voice, which goes, you know, it's sort of different for everyone, but I reckon a lot of people would relate to your one, which is like, I'm a hoax, right? So is that a thing where everything that you go and do and it actually succeeds, there's something inside you goes, fuck, what if people find out that I've just faked this whole thing all along, and I and I
Yeah,
and I get found out that I'm like a totally flawed human.
yeah, that's exactly what it is,
Yeah.
and it, uh, and everything is a polarity. So as much as that is true, that I have faked the whole thing, I've also trusted with the whole thing, and then and realized that it's not even about me either. But something like this is really challenging because people are wanting to now build a home like this. I'm like, but I can't replicate flow. I can't plan this shit.
Mm.
So that's when I'm like, hang on, if I can't plan this, am I a hoax? If I can't tell them exactly what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it, how it's going to come to you, I must be a hoax, But then I'm like, hey, well, we're looking at it wrong. Maybe we've over structured everything, and that's what this has taught me,
Yeah.
I think. But yeah, the hoax thing's massive. The
Yeah.
hoax thing's massive.
Yeah. So how do you get through that? What do you do? Do you just keep going, or is
Build
it?
a house. You build a house and prove yourself wrong.
Yeah.
But then I've got the other issue now of people wanting to do the same thing. I don't know. I'm stuck right now.
Yeah.
I've had a few inquiries because I've launched a little business where I can help others build this way. And if I'm completely honest, I'm freaking out because I'm like, how? I can't. I can't do this. I'm a fraud.
Yeah,
But I know I'm not. I know deep down I'm not, but that
of
voice is
course. The
that
voice is
voice is
strong.
strong.
Yeah, voice. But that
Mm.
it's interesting though, isn't it? Because you've done, even though you've had that voice going, I'm a hoax, and people are going to find out that I'm a hoax and I'm a fake or whatever. You've acknowledged that voice, but you've still been able to stay in flow and just do what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah, for the first time ever.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
maybe
And
that's the key,
even yeah,
to acknowledge
what?
that voice,
Yeah,
but to just
do it anyway.
do it anyway.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. That's been the key with this thing, 100%,
Yeah.
because that voice comes every second day, and you've got to keep going.
Mm.
Otherwise, you'll be left with a shell, and you that'll be, imagine that, like a hundred a massive symbol of your shame. Can you imagine having to drive past that every day, an unfinished house? I mean, like, I think when I was building the chicken coops and the garden sheds, I could not finish them, and I didn't have to look at them.
Yeah.
This thing, I was like, I'm gonna have to look at this. If I don't finish this is going to ruin me. So maybe I just had to like call my own bullshit
Yeah.
in a way,
Yeah.
my own hoax bullshit.
Yeah. So what's been,
But
Rishi? So what do you reckon's been through? Because you've been through a lot, man. Like it doesn't matter which way you look at it. You have been through. You've been to the light, you've been to the darkness, and you've been everywhere in between. And it'd be cool to hear what's if you could go back to when you were 20 years old, right?
mhm,
Whatever, 16 years ago,
yeah,
and grab yourself by the scruff of the neck, what would be the thing that you'd scream at yourself back then?
oh, just trust it. Trust that little voice that you think makes you weak. Because that's your strength, little fella.
Mm,
That's you are enough. Fuck, like that little voice. I've always had it. That yeah, I was ashamed of the way I used to live, the way I used to. I don't know how to describe it, but it's been something about the way I've done this is the way I've always had that voice, and I've tried to shut it up for 16 years. And I'm like, oh man, that's really sad. It's really sad that I did that to myself and to that, 16-year-old or 20-year-old or, um, yeah. I'd just say that little voice that is the only one that you really consistently hear. That's you.
mm,
Don't listen to the rest.
yeah. Or just
Mm.
acknowledge the rest, but listen
Yeah,
to,
acknowledge the rest.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And
yeah.
then just in terms of in terms of relationships, right? And in terms of the relationship you've been able to build. I'm going to interview Claire in a couple of weeks as well.
Said that. Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of you and Claire, it's almost like, and that's another thing, man. Like when you look at it from the outside in, right? You guys look like this perfect couple, right? And with the perfect kids and the perfect thing, and it just looks so beautiful. And it's funny, man, because you guys have both gone through your individual journeys, you know, and with you, what? Because now that you sort of explained about this whole thing around darkness and whatever in you as the masculine in the relationship, for other men out there that would be really facing a really dark place, not just in their personal life but in their relationships as well, what would be something that you would say to them in terms of how to exist in a relationship when you're just so fucking confused yourself?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I would say focus on your intention, and don't even look at what was happening in the physical world around you. Don't, like, I don't know. I think I spent so many years thinking I was trapped or feeling like I was waiting for someone to come and rescue me,
Mm,
and it just seems like in hindsight such a waste of time. I feel like Claire and I's relationship has been like a tornado for 15 years, but a lot of that has been self-inflicted because I've like been a prisoner of my own mind, thinking I was trapped in something that I was trapping myself in because I was judging what was happening around me. Well, this isn't how it feels like it should be happening.
mm,
Um, so just trust your intention. Don't judge what's happening around you. Just keep checking back into your intention.
How?
Because, good question.
No,
Um,
as in like, is there any?
yeah,
Do you use tools? I mean, what do you do? Do you meditate? Is it surfing? Is it journaling? Like,
just try. Yeah. Look, I think it's from years of making mistakes and years of going about. Like I've made it. I'm the most stubborn man in the world. I'll look at everyone else's stuff before I look at my own. And I'm happy to give advice to everyone else but myself. So I think it's worn me down. There's probably a much easier way to do it and have some more accountability for yourself and really stop and listen. Like take some time out, go on a hike when you can, and take everything away from yourself and connect to that voice because it's so easy. I look at the world right now. Everyone's fucking pointing the fingers at each other, blaming each other. I've done it too, whether you're on one side of the fence or the other, or you're in the middle, and it's the same shit as what goes on in a relationship. We're so much more inclined to point the finger at the mirror opposite us than stop. So it's the same shit. It's the same shit. If you find yourself blaming someone else, it's there's no sure sign that you've got to look at something within yourself. And I think I just didn't do that for 15 years,
yeah.
and then it almost killed me. And the funny thing with Claire and I, we were both convinced, probably our whole relationship, that this is just temporary. This is just a karmic relationship. We'll get through this, and we'll shake hands. We'll move on. Even when we had kids early on, I think we both had that same thought. We sat down only a year ago, and we're like, "It's been good. It's been fun. Thank you." We had this beautiful moment where we both cried, and we were like, we both came to peace, and went to bed. We're like, "Oh, that's it." And then 2 days later, we're like, "Oh, that was just a little phase, and now we're back. We've met each other up here now, and now I just am not judging it. I'm like, well, this girl's been here this long. Pretty sure she's gonna be here a lot longer, and I bloody love her company. We the amount of things we want the same thing out of life. So if it's karmic, all good, all good. I'm learning a lot, and I think that karmic can transcend.
Yeah.
And I think that it is. And so to go back to your question, I just think if there's conflict, just quieten down and work out. Remove your partner from it. Work out where the conflict. If the conflict's still there when you remove them, okay, maybe I've got something to do with this.
Yeah.
I don't know if that made sense.
Yeah,
mate.
dude, absolutely. Of course, it makes sense.
I think it did.
It's you, dude. It's you and the
I
world.
know. I'm a rambler. Oh fuck, I ramble.
No, it's good. And
Mad
so
scientist.
I guess moving on now, Rhys, like for you, where you're at now, I guess you've been to the dark, you've been to the light, you've accepted it all, and it seems like you're really accepting who you are in the world now, which is a fucking pretty cool place to be.
Yeah, I'm accepting it more often than ever, but definitely not 100% of the time. But yes, it is. It's an incredible place to be, and if I'm encouraging anyone to take that inner journey, it has been so hard for me, but holy shit, when you get to a place, even for a day in a week, you accept who you are, it is worth it because that's peace. That's peace. That no monetary gain, no hot wife, even though I've got one, no incredible house and kids or whatever. That's not, that won't give you anything. Like just that day or that you second, you actually accept who you are and all of it and know you're enough. That's you've made it even for that moment.
Yeah.
So I've had fleeting moments and it's been really nice.
And so what's next for you, brother? Like, what are you doing? So you're doing this house, you're going to finish the house, and then what's next? What are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I have a lot. I'm going to use the word shame one more time. I have a lot of shame in the way I'll go from one creative endeavor to the other. That's something I'm trying to accept in myself too, because what's wrong with that? Just because as a society we're meant to just focus on one thing and kill it and clock it, and then show the world how successful we are. I've never been able to do that. I've always been like a bit of a gypsy from one creative endeavor to the other. So I actually have no idea what I'll do next. I know what I want to do, but I have no idea what will present itself.
Are you still acting and modeling and stuff? So you're doing the Maya stuff and whatnot, and
I'm still modeling. I haven't since I got back from LA. I really missed the acting thing, but I wonder whether it was more cathartic and like counselling for me than anything. I don't know. I'd love to be able to make a career out of it, but it's one of those things where I was banging my head against a brick wall for 2 years. I come home and turn my attention to this, and everything just opens up. So I've got to go where that flow is. I'm learning to do that, and then who knows where that will lead me.
Yeah.
I love storytelling, so I love doing documentary work. That's my passion. If I can tell people stories, I'll be a happy man.
So on that, where's all your stuff? Like, where can people get on and check out the
I guess,
documentary of the Shouses?
yeah, I guess we have an Instagram. This thing's become bigger than me in every way. So it has its own Instagram now, Shed House Australia. So that's the name of the company, and the Instagram. That's my current creative endeavor. Um, so
Yep.
yeah, I think at the moment what we're going to do, if this works, we're going to go and follow families that want to free themselves financially a little bit, but also get to know them and their story and help them create their house, um, and maybe document it. So at the moment, that's kind of including all of my passions. So go and help them build it, but also film it and get their stories. Just like grand designs, but for tight
Yeah.
asses. Not tight asses. People who don't want to have a big financial and environmental imprint on the world.
So cool, man. Are those houses actually warm? Is it warm
Yeah,
inside?
they are. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're just insulating them today, actually. So yeah, now we insulate like a normal house. Obviously, it's black, so we've got it. We're kind of using double insulation.
Yeah.
But look, proof will be in the pudding. I'll let you know in January
So
how
this
it's
will be
going.
all done finished in January.
No, this will be done in a month if I have my way. This was I wanted this done in 2 months all up, but we
Yeah.
got held up. But so yeah, this will be done pretty quick.
So cool. And this is where you're living, right?
We're gonna live here. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna live here. We're gonna spend some time. I think once we can go back to Bali. I feel really drawn to go back there now. I
Yeah.
hadn't for a while, but I feel like it's I don't know with everything going on in the world. I don't know. I feel like Bali more than anywhere for me will support where I want to be
Yeah.
in life.
Yeah.
Hopefully, well, I
And
know
is
my family's
Tavita still
supporting that.
going?
It's dormant. We're in some stores in Canggu in Bali.
Yeah.
But they're just yeah. When I get back over there, I'll see if I can reconnect with
Yeah.
people. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Reece, so good to chat to you, man. It's thanks for sharing
But
your story, brother. Really appreciate it.
oh, it's always really nice catching up with you, mate. It's
Yeah.
few and far between, but it's always I can't stop smiling when I talk to you for some reason. I don't know why. Here I'm talking about my sex addiction and I'm smiling. But anyway,
I love it. Well,
I
it's
can only
just
laugh at it.
yeah, it's just two dudes connecting. Well, that's the thing, man. I mean,
Mm.
that's it's sort of the thing I'm on at the moment. I've got no idea where I'm going with it either. Like it's just I
Yeah,
just feel like I'm in flow, but I feel like that a lot of at the moment there's a lot of men that just need some brothers to see that it's just all right to be a fuck
yeah,
up, and to feel
yeah.
like you're a fuck up, like whatever,
Yeah.
and just being
I
able to.
love No, I just love what you said. The first thing you said, I have no idea where I'm going with this, and I just find that so. I'll use the word attractive, but it really is. And I've had the privilege throughout. We have a healing business on Phillip Island of hosting men's circles before this whole lockdown shit happened.
Yeah,
But I, when a man came and said, "Look, I got no idea. I pretended. I got fucking no idea." There's nothing more masculine, I believe, than a man who says he doesn't know the answer.
yeah,
I just feel like, now we got the base. Oh, we got this base to build this foundation.
mm,
You're a man,
yeah.
because I got no idea. I never have. I never will. But we're not meant to. That's the answer.
Nah, nah.
Yeah. So I loved you saying that.
Love it,
It's
dude.
very
Well, yeah,
attractive.
when everything's back to normal, I'll come down and do a little men's thing down there as well. I'd
Yeah,
love
that'd be
to.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
awesome, mate.
Awesome, brother. All right, Reese, I love you. Thank you for coming on, man.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
You too, mate. It's honestly a pleasure. Sorry about the background noise.